So, there is a story from the Bible, and if you watch the full church service, you will have already heard it. But I'm going to tell it again. It's a story about a woman at a well, a Samaritan woman. What's a Samaritan, you ask? Well, that is a great question, and it's one of those questions that there really isn't an easy answer for. But for right now, I'll tell you that Samaritans were a group of people who were in a long fight with the Jewish people. Samaritans didn't like the Jewish folks, and the Jewish folks didn't like the Samaritans. Now remember, Jesus was Jewish. That's a very important part of this story. So anyway, Jesus had been traveling a long time with his friends and was tired and hot and thirsty. And wasn't it his good luck that he came to a well? A well is just a source of water. It probably looked something like this. So Jesus came to the well, and at the well was a Samaritan woman. Jesus saw her and he threw himself on the ground in sadness because there was no way he was going to ask that woman to help him get water. That's not what happened. That doesn't sound at all like Jesus, does it? No, Jesus didn't care about who he should or shouldn't like. He didn't care about who was popular and who wasn't. What Jesus cared about was sharing God's messages of love and acceptance with anyone who was willing to listen to him. So I obviously don't know what Jesus was thinking when he saw the woman, but I can imagine it. And I wonder if Jesus was thinking, oh look, a Samaritan. This is a great chance for me to show her that I think she is worthy of being treated with respect. And he didn't care that she was a woman. In those days, women weren't treated so great, and men who were strangers would never, ever speak to them. The only thing that Jesus cared about was her. And he could see by looking at her that she'd had a hard life. She looked sad, and she was all alone. And of course, she had something that he wanted, the water. So I guess he could have just helped himself to the water and left without speaking to her. But that's just not how Jesus was. He asked her for water. He asked her for help. And at first she was suspicious of him. Why was this strange Jewish man talking to her? But as he kept talking to her, she knew that he was special. She felt something amazing. And what did she feel? She felt God's love coming through him. She felt God's love in his words. She felt God's love in his eyes. She felt God's love in his smile. She felt God's love reaching out and asking her for a drink of water. She felt God's love, and she just knew that she had to share it. So she went back to her friends and she told them everything that had happened. And because God's love had filled her heart, she seemed different to her friends, and they liked what they saw. And they also wanted to meet Jesus. And they did. They met Jesus, and Jesus shared God's love with them, and everyone had a grand old time. So you see what happened here. First of all, how would the story have gone if Jesus had come to the well, saw the Samaritan woman, and turned away in judgment and frustration? Or what if he had thrown himself on the ground and started to cry? Well, we don't know. But we do know that because he was able to reach in and pull out God's love and share it with her, he changed her life, and then together they changed the lives of her Samaritan friends. That's what sharing God's love does. It changes people. It helps people to understand how much they matter, how lovable they are, and how much they have to share in their hearts too. Now, the important lesson in this story, for me anyway, and one that isn't easy to learn, is that God doesn't want us to love the people we already like. He doesn't want us to just love the people we already like, the cool people, the popular people, the good-looking people, the people who look and talk and act like we do. God also wants us to love the people we find it hard to like, the people who everyone else tells us that we shouldn't like. So your homework for this week is to think about who that might be for you. Who is the person or the people who you have a hard time liking or are too afraid to like? And what is one thing you can do, one step you can take to let God open your heart up just a little bit? Ask God for help. God's always there. We are never alone. Thanks.